Hello, Supercoaches. Welcome to the preview podcast. Massive show and a massive panel. Rob Sutherland, how is your team travelling?
Middling to fair, Thomas. I keep making bad decisions, but I'm trying to make less of them.
Where are you ranked these days?
I don't know.
I happen to know, but I won't shame you.
No, go on. I don't care. I genuinely don't know.
50,000.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's early doors. I don't really care.
Jet, how are you travelling?
Good, mate. Yeah, I'm about 10,000 spots higher, so, you know,
Killing.
they say if you're not in the top 40,000, you're not going to win Supercoach this year, so see how we go.
I know I'm not going to win Supercoach at the start of the year.
You can't claim the prize anyway, but who knows, if you get that redundancy, then maybe you could. I don't know.
I thought I'm out. See ya.
Trades this week. What do we think? I'll go first while you recover over there, Rob. My number one trade. I might just get sacked after this. No redundancy required, because I'm going to go Reece Walsh as my top trade. He doesn't look good this year at all, but he's bottomed out in price. So I'm going to take a punt on him with a good matchups coming along. So Walsh is my top trade in for Turbo. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I like it. As we said yesterday, he's at minus 34 in points just because of all the errors he's had.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a pouring game last week, and then he played in Canberra for one of them. So you'd think, as I said, the horse racing lingo yesterday, dry track, surely.
Yep.
That'll see him, maybe ton up.
But is there any sort of suggestion that he's struggling with Hunt? In that, Mam is a running 5'8", Hunt is a kicking and a game controlling 5'8", right? So, Mam used to make a half a break, Reece would pop out outside him and make the full break and score the try, and that's not happening. So I know Walsh is making errors, but he's always kind of made errors and then scored enough points that there was still value. And I actually think maybe there's more to it than just Reece is making mistakes or not engaged. I think maybe the addition of that different playmaker is changing how he's playing.
Yeah, and the guys who are benefiting from that are the guys on the left, Shibasaki and
it's
Jesse
more of a
Arthurs.
classic style, like Hunt's finding his outside guys.
It's a good point, but that is who's the guy I've got in my team at the moment. I'm also getting Pappenhausen in too, and then I'm also getting Jenkins in, obviously, but I'm selling Purdue instead of Toya. We'll get to that later on.
Okay.
What are your trades?
I'm growing up. I'm not boosting, despite having wanted to. Luke Metcalf and Jesse Arthurs are going out for me. Tom Jenkins and Ryan Pappenhausen are coming in, which means I'm holding Turbo. I was going to go Turbo to Ponga, or I was going to go Turbo to Hines. And look, a boost is probably not worth the 40 or 50 points that trade's going to generate. Instead, I'll end up playing Iongi. He scores maybe 40, Ponga scores 80. It's 40 points, but a boost is worth way more than 40 points.
Yep.
This one hurts. I'm trading out one of my boys this week, Ali Leah Tower. Yeah. He was my pot of the year coming in, and he's looked really good. I was just really concerned on the weekend. When he doesn't get the ball, he doesn't have those tough sort of carries out of his own end, and he can go low. He was gifted with a try assist with the Halasima full field try. It got him up to 40. He's going good, but I need to go someone to Tom Jenkins, and I don't want to go Robert Toya. I don't want to go Purdue, any of those other guys. So it frees up about 400k for me to use elsewhere. So I'm going Ali Leah Tower out. I'm using a boost this week as well. Kobe Hetherington out. He's just plodding.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Ellie Katoa in for Kobe Hetherington.
Nice. Yeah.
I wanted to do it. I couldn't do it in 2 trades, so I needed to use a boost. So I've gone Sandon Smith down to Riley Smith, who I think is he's going at about a point per minute when he plays off the bench. I think he's the future of the club. He nearly kicked a 40-20 last week, so he's got attacking upside. So
I like it, but I want to have one more look at Smith while he's starting. I want to see what the minute split is like, because there is the chance that even though he is starting, it might be a 40-40 split. If it's a 60-40 split, he's a good buy for next week. I can downgrade Mamazelos, for example, free up a heap of cash. But yeah, I want to have one look at him this week. Onto the no-go zone. I'm not going to steal your one this week, so I'll just let you go first.
Well, I've got 3, Thomas, because I couldn't trust you.
Well, don't choose mine then.
Well, I'll pick yours if I get to go first. No, look, I'm going to do a double, quick one. Jacob Preston. I think people are chasing points. He moved on to the left, looked much better, but Kicks is back. They've got a buy coming up. So you're buying him in just to get 1 week, then a buy, then he moves back to the right. I think it's a mistake. Thomas Cant's the other quick one. Very popular buy, but I think that's a mistake too. He's only got one more week. And then I think KPP comes back, Kai Pearce-Paul. You were saying Dylan Lucas, who was a Bradman Best, was saying Dylan Lucas is closer than people think. All that puts Can in trouble. He's only had 1 week of play, so you've got another week free look. I think that's a big mistake.
Yep.
I'm going Latrell Mitchell, just at centre. A lot of people are buying him, but you just couldn't go close to him. He's about 866k, coming off a hamstring injury. Averaged 70 at centre in 2019, so he's priced well above that. So I just couldn't touch him until he moves to fullback.
Yeah, no Latrell, and it looks like he will move to fullback sometime soon. The quotes from Bennett last night were that he is my fullback, he's still my fullback. It's just they've got so many backline injuries that he needs to play centre for now. But he'll be fullback soon.
The other thing we don't know is does he goal kick? I mean, Jamie Humphries is kicking 75%. That's pretty good. Latrell's coming back off a hamstring. You know, do they take that extra strain off him? Let's wait and see.
It's a big question. My no-go zone is Clint Gutherson. Look, I love the bloke. I love him at the Dragons. Best on ground against the Storm, but it didn't translate to Supercoach points. And the break-even is in the 40s, I think, off the top of my head now. So
but it's 90 next week.
Yeah,
you know, it's climbing.
The price rises have sort of stopped for now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be getting on this week. If you got on last week, well done and hold, because he's got a really good run of games. But I wouldn't be buying Gutho this week, and he is the 4th most popular purchase.
I do like Gutho when people are looking to replace Turbo. I like Gutho for his longevity, for the fact that he plays 22 games, 23 games every year. You know, he has more 40-50s in him than the elites, but he has got the big games and tends to average out at the end of the year, right up in the top 5. If you pick Gutho, you stick with Gutho.
Yeah,
he's not one of those fullbacks where we're playing through him on matchups.
It used to be like that, but he is noted and on the record saying he does have problems with his knees, so I'm not sure if he's going to make it through all those games this year.
This week against the Eels too, he could go anything against.
It could go massive or could do nothing.
In a dry clash this weekend, good weather this weekend. On to guilty pleasure. This is the player that you shouldn't buy, or the move that you shouldn't make, but you can't help yourself. What's yours, Rob?
Pappenhausen. You know, there's safer options at fullback. There's safer options elsewhere, but I can't go past his upside. You look at his highest score against teams. It's 180. It's 190. He can go as big as anyone, and he could also play 6 games this year. So
mine is chasing those high scores in the captain. So not captaining a guy like Terrell May, like a forward. I like to chase those, high scoring upside players. So, the fullbacks and that. So I do it every week. So that's my guilty pleasure.
My guilty pleasure is I'm holding Robert Toya and I'm selling Jackson Purdue. Purdue's got a negative BE. He's set to go up by 50k. But Toya is a guy that I feel much safer having in my 17 each week. He also costs 50k less at the moment, so I make 50k more off the trade of selling Purdue. It's too early to sell Purdue, but I need Jenkins. I've got to sell someone for Jenkins, and there's never a perfect time. So Purdue's been looking good, but
he looked really good
for the first half, he looked really good, and then barely scored in the second half. So he's a guy that can go quiet, and he does rely a bit more on attacking stats than Toya, makes a lot of runs and makes a lot of tackle busts.
Fair.
Keeps improving too, Purdue.
Yeah, he is getting better, and I don't want to sell him, but you just have to get Jenkins.
Yeah.
On to this week's Best Bets, powered by Better. I am going a multi this week, not going simple like I always do. Dragons to beat the Eels. If they beat the Storm, then surely they beat the Eels this week. And then Broncos are paying $1.17 against the West Tigers. I think that is just ridiculous odds. I've got the Tigers plus 17.5, so they just have to get moderately close, and that's paying $3.
Nice. Like it. I'm going Melbourne 13+ at Brookie against Manly.
Even at Brookie.
I just think Manly are overrated. I just don't think they're that much chop. No Turbo as well, so there's a lot of points missing there. I thought they were bang average against the Eels on Sunday. Melbourne, they haven't lost back-to-back since 2023, so Jerome Hughes might be coming in as well. I think it's a massive in for them. So Melbourne 13+, about $2.85 it is.
Nice. I've got 2 try scorers, Tuipulotu against the Eels. I think he's close to a moral. Isaiah Tass outside Latrell against my Roosters. I think that's a good chance. Yeah. And then I'm going to put around this every single week. I'm going to put Brisbane to miss the top 4. So you put those three together and you get $8.13.
Right. So we both think that the Broncos are kind of overrated this year.
They haven't beaten anyone good this year, I don't think. And they got beaten by the Raiders when they came up against them. I don't like the back three. I don't think they're working well. I don't rate them.
Yep, I tend to agree. What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. What are you thinking, Rob?
Lindsay Smith. He's averaging 56 in base, 67 overall. He's in under 5% of teams, under 580k. The only game where he didn't go great, it was HIA impacted. I just think he's just underrated.
Yeah, definitely underrated. The issue I've got with him is that there are just so many good
There's
front
lots
row
of props,
forwards.
but yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm kind of thinking of him as a guy to get me through the Origin period, but does he make the Origin team? He played for Kangaroos.
He certainly could. There's some pretty decent props in front of him. I think Terrell May's got
into
that sort of conversation, but they do tend to like more the impact front rower than the workhorse front rower in Origin, don't they? Because you don't play 60 minutes in Origin unless you're Lazarus.
I like Scotty Drinkwater. If I had Turbo, I'd strongly consider getting in Scotty Drinkwater. He's about 4% ownership, 700k years. He's had a lot of tough matchups the first 4 rounds, but he's only got a low score of 52. So he's going really well. He's kicking goals for the Cowboys. Their draw starts to soften up. He plays Penrith this week, but opposing fullbacks have scored pretty big against them. Teddy scored 120. Jai Gray scored 70 against them on the weekend. So I think
they're not the defensive unit that they have been in the past.
They're not. Yeah. So I think Scotty Drinkwater's a great shout.
Yeah, I like that. I also think Teddy at, 3% or something. The BE's 125, so don't get on this week. But speaking of Origin, he's a guy who plays that first big buy round. Probably won't play Origin unless Dylan Edwards gets injured. So don't get on this week, maybe in the future. The guy I did have, I had to switch that up late. The guy I did have was Eli Katoa, who you're bringing in. I just love that he can score off so many different plays. There's the kick from Munster, which he's been scoring off recently. But then the short ball off Jerome Hughes is huge as well. So plenty of attacking stats, plus he's got a good base as well.
He's such a good kicking option, isn't he?
I love him.
Yeah.
You have to get him in at some stage during the year, so why not get him in pretty early?
Oh, my back row's looking nice too. I've got Angus Crichton, David Feder and Eli Katoa.
Oh, Crichton's coming down to a really good
So
price
Crichton
too.
and Katoa are two guys that I'm waiting to have the cap space to spend it on. So yeah, nice.
Questions. First of all, will Latrell get centre wing positioning? No, that won't happen because he will have only played one game in the position. Plus, Wayne Bennett came out yesterday and said he is his fullback. He's his long-term fullback. If he does play 3 games in the spot, he'll get it for round 12. But at this stage, he won't get it for round 6, which are the next DPP updates. Josh is asking, should I use my third boost for Metcalf to Campbell? I really do love Jaden Campbell, and I'm not going to get him, and I feel dirty about it.
I think he might be the top scoring 5'8" for the year, but I don't think it's worth the boost.
Look, aggressive Rob would say, yeah, do it, because he's got a great short-term draw. But, I had to do the sums. Stop and think. You might be getting in 100, but you're giving up 40 or 50 that your other guy that you would play in that place, in Campbell's place. So just chill and, don't use it yet.
Yeah. With Latrell back, is now a good time to sell Jamie Humphries? Good question, because if he does lose the goal kicking duties, that's big for him. Plus the BE is 21, so he's getting towards peaking.
This isn't the week. Next week might be. Let's see. Let's see if he kicks. Let's see how it pans out. Latrell back might see Humphries get 3 more try assists. He's a weapon. I remember him at the centres for the Roosters. He was a weapon, and you said he averaged 70 in 2019, which is a fair point, but also that averages have gone up since then. We're playing that much faster style. So that 70 is probably almost 80 in today's terms.
Yeah, next week Nathan Cleary might lose a bit of cash too, so Humphries could be an option straight to him.
Yeah, that's a good call, and still making heaps of tackles as well. Made 40 tackles the other week. Cheapies, so obviously Jenkins is number 1. We've spoken about him a lot. We probably don't need to speak about him anymore, but he's essentially a must-have. The next guy I want to talk about is Jalen de Groot. You were at the game and you gave your thoughts yesterday. What are your thoughts on de Groot? Because I think he looked okay in actual NRL, but it didn't work out for Supercoach.
Yeah, I think it was one of those, early in his career, and like I thought to the eye he looked good, but he doesn't have the massive work rate, or he didn't in that game. So wait and see is best I could say for him.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, as I said yesterday, he's huge in person. He's one of the biggest players on the field. They score a lot of points, the Titans. He's going to get points. So you don't have to get him this week, but you can definitely get him next week.
Yeah, I think you have to prepare for it next week and work out who that guy is going to be that you sell, and then we'll see what happens this weekend. Supercoach Plus.
Can I throw one in?
Yeah.
The one, like Jenkins is getting all of the love and he deserves it, but Robert Darby is just quietly averaging 41 at 214k. No, I'd get Jenkins first, but like he's an interesting option.
On another week, he'd be an option.
Yeah.
Braden Burns is due back next week, though, so he's got one more week. The other guy I kind of looked at, but it's not really serious, is Clayton Fulalo, who's going to play a month on the wing for the Sea Eagles. He's had 2 games, so he's set for his first price change after this week. At the moment, it's predicted that change will actually be a fall in price because he's averaging 18 and the BE is 30 odd.
It's a tough cheapie to plug.
But I mean, equally though, in that team, it's still a pretty good attacking team without Turbo. He could score 2 tries and then initiate some big price rises.
I'm pretty sure he did lead the New South Wales Cup in tries last year. I'm not sure if that's 100%. Don't fact check me on that. But I'm pretty positive. Like he's got massive attacking upside in him from Cup. Yeah,
he looks good. He just doesn't have that big work rate that we want. Supercoach Plus, it's $29.95 for the year. There's a bit of a tutorial on it in my late mail episode from Thursday last week. All the best parts about it, particularly the cash cow section, is my favourite, where you can see who's going to go up and who's going to go down in price. Or you can get a code subscription, $59 for the year. It's $1 a week. All the articles, all the podcast videos, etc., for an absolute bargain. Onto some key injuries. So Karaz, is he on your radar at all? Could be back this week. He's named on the extended bench.
No, I want to see him come back. Then I want to see them have their bye. Then I want to see maybe if I'll buy him.
And I want to see a price drop too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sort of eased into it when he came back from injury last year from memory. But the way the Doggies are going, he's a top tier centre wing. You know, if they're a top 4 team, he's gonna average anything that he wants, really.
I love any centre wing who's in the top 5 or top 6 for offloads in
Yep.
the entire comp, and Karaz is. So.
He could be a bolter for Origin too, I reckon.
Yeah,
he was talked about.
Depends how many injuries pop up, I suppose, between now and then. Yeah.
He was talked about as a kangaroo selection last year, and then I don't think ended up making it. Jerome Hughes could be back. That'd be huge. I actually think it's good for guys like Pappenhausen, Munster, etc.
It's huge.
I know that they take on more responsibility in attack when Hughes isn't there, but I think they're just a better team. There's going to be more attack when he's in the team.
Geez, he was running it a lot too on the weekend, which sort of took away from Pappenhausen and those other guys, which is great for Melbourne that he runs first, but it leaves less opportunities for those guys.
Speaking of not fact checking, I think the Storm averaged something like 12 points less without Hughes.
Yeah, they said something on the broadcast.
Hughes isn't scoring all those points in Supercoach. It's going everywhere.
Yeah.
Dylan Edwards, not named this week, but Ivan Cleary did say before he selected the team that he was a decent chance to play this week. That suggests he'll be back next week, which again is good for the attack of the Panthers and particularly good for your guy Paul Alamotti.
Yeah, good for Alamotti.
Casey McLean, guys like that.
Having Cleary back is going to be huge for Alamotti as well. That was a bummer. Toalau had a learning experience. I think might be the nicest way to describe that game.
On to Hosking. He is back in round 7, so we've probably only got 2 more weeks of Nicholson. Looks like he'll peak in that time anyway, unless he scores a couple of tries.
Yeah, what do you get? 45 on the weekend.
He looked close to scoring at least one try.
He got close twice. Yeah. Runs a really good line, but he does need that try.
I did mention in the Q&A, I think I undersold him as a Smithies, having watched him closer last week. Yeah, his running's better.
Yeah.
And another thing to look out for, you pointed it out yesterday. If we don't know a time frame for Kieran Foran yet, but if he is back in the next couple of weeks, does that mean De Groot drops out and AJ Brimson goes to fullback?
Yeah, well,
very possibly.
Brimson's such a good fullback. Yeah. So if De Groot doesn't aim up the next few weeks, Foran's going to come straight in.
Well, you're going to do that rather than put Brimson at 14, aren't
you? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What are you thinking this week, Rob?
VC Cleary. Can't get past it. And then I am sick of my captains proverbially on the bed, so I'm going with Haas.
Yeah. I don't mind it. Haas is up 40%, so
Jeez.
amongst the top 10% of Supercoaches. So the good Supercoaches are captaining Haas, just going safe.
They're all boring. All
Yep.
boring. I'm going VC Nico Hines. I want to just captain him again at Canberra, but it's a Thursday night game. It's if your captain goes poorly on a Thursday night, you're just in a bad mood for the rest of the weekend. So going VC Nico, and then I'm going to see Pappenhausen against Manly. As I said earlier, I think Manly are going to get quite a big number put on them, so Pappenhausen should turn up.
Yeah, I've got the VC on Cleary in that second match. He's at 18%, so it's a bit of actually a pod move. I may even go the sneaky C on him, go back there again. And see.
So brave after it cost you last time.
Yeah, it can't happen twice, can it? Surely not.
You might get called out by Rob on Twitter again if you go poorly.
Don't make me go back there.
One guy who I won't be going, who is popular almost every week, is Kalen Ponga versus the Doggies. That's the toughest matchup in Supercoach, so I'll be avoiding him. Final thought.
I don't want to bash the refs every week, so I sort of half want to bash the bunker because they're pissing me off the way they go out of their way, right, to find this obscure reason to say that the on-field call was right when the vision shows that it wasn't. That annoys me. The other one is get stuffed with the high tackle crackdown. I hate crackdowns. You've either got the rules and you apply them or you don't. So just because someone whinges because a player on their favourite team got hit in the head by a really nice guy called Reed Marnie, don't go and respond and go, oh, well, that's it, we'll start sending players off, because you'll ruin my Supercoach week and then I'll be pissed off.
I definitely wasn't calling for a send-off when that happened.
Not you.
I was.
I'm going higher up the food chain.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to bash the bunker. It annoys the hell out of me. Why can we rule on a ball going forward in an obscure part of the field, but you can't rule on a forward pass? It just doesn't make sense. Either rule on both or don't rule on any.
Yeah, look, I'm with you on that, but they could bring in, they could work harder on forward passes, but they don't.
Yeah, I just feel like they're guessing half the time.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh, a ball's gone forward, but it just looks like it's, you couldn't tell. So.
Couple of questions to finish the show, and we'll wind it up pretty quickly because we know Frank needs us to go under 20 minutes. Turbo.
We're already over 20 minutes.
I don't know.
Let's talk about how much Frank, we don't care whether we go over. Does it upset you, Frank? I know you're going to cut this out, so I'm just going to keep it rolling. All right, back to your questions, Thomas. Go
I
on.
haven't seen Frank that quiet ever. Turbo isn't out. This is not a question. Turbo isn't out for 4 weeks. He is dead to me forever. So.
Is that Matty Mack again?
No, it's not. But what are your thoughts with Turbo? Can you get him again? I sit next to Wilson Smith, who is a mad Sea Eagles fan, and he was looking at the draw and he's like, "Oh, when Turbo comes back, he's got a great matchup. I'm going to have to get on him." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm probably going to have to buy him as well. He's going to get injured soon. He's got Origin coming up. Is it just time that we just cut the cord with Turbo and never select him again for Supercoach?"
Well, last year at the back end, I think you missed most of the midway through the year, and then at the back end of the year, if you didn't have him, you're in a world of trouble. He was scoring 150 every week, so as long as he's playing, you got to have him in your Supercoach team.
There's a reason Turbo FOMO is a real thing.
Yeah.
In was it 6th or 7th minute, he could have scored that try that they scored. He just ended up giving it out anyway. And that's him. That was hobbling before he even got there.
We got a question from Francis Aaron James on Facebook saying, Iyongi, Toya and Arthurs are all holds this week if you don't need to sell them. They're starting to flatten out, but they all have good matchups this round, so you should see some more rises. What are your thoughts there? Personally, I'm selling one of those guys in Iyongi, holding Toya, and I don't have Arthurs, but I'd definitely sell Arthurs. He's got that break even to 56.
I'm selling Arthurs because I think he's reached the price point where he needs to play at his very best every single week to maintain it, not even to grow it. I had a look at this a couple of years ago. Something about outside backs, particularly cheapy outside backs, make something like 85-90% of their money within the first 5 games, at which point they're either holding it or they go up tiny amounts, right? So you might as well cash out at 90% and move on to another guy that's going to make you another 150 rather than sit there and get that extra 20 or 30. Unless they're a keeper, and I don't see Arthurs as a keeper.
No, Arthurs isn't a keeper. Toya, I've got I can play him in my 17 most weeks and feel happy about it. So I'm actually holding Toya for now. But as you say, he could be out next week for De Groot Who knows?
Are you going to play him this week, 12?
Yeah, I've got him in the 17 this
Yeah.
week. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
makes sense.
actually like that local derby. I think there'll be some points.
Yeah. Up against the Troll too.
Yeah.
That'll be.
That'll be a good matchup.
If he runs over
And
the top
then-
of him, they might explode.
And the other thing is that there's never a perfect time to sell a cheapie. You're never going to get. I actually think it is the perfect time to sell.
You're not going to get
very
every
rare
penny.
that you get.
Yeah, just be happy with 90%.
It's very rare that you get a break even of 56 on a cheapie. You just have. It depends when there's a good guy to bring in, and this week there's a great guy to bring in Jenkins.
Yeah.
Well, that is it. Preview podcast round 5. We will catch you. Got the late mail show tomorrow at around lunchtime with yours truly. I'll catch you then.